Russia have entered another round of negotiations mediated by the United States. Kyiv, Geneva, Miami, Moscow, each meeting and every statement from the parties once again draws the attention of the entire world. But is the Kremlin truly ready for real dialogue? Or is all of this just for show for the guests from Washington? And why, after the talks in Moscow, did almost all major global media outlets conclude that Putin is betting on a prolonged war? Let's break it down. So, the 5-hour negotiations between Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner with the Kremlin dictator yielded no public results. No compromise was found. The chances of ending the war are still elusive, but it seems that Putin himself was quite satisfied with this meeting. Well, first of all, it started 3 hours later than scheduled. Putin really wanted to show the American representatives that he had more important things to do. And secondly, as CNN analysts note, the dictator really enjoyed being courted, even though he showed no interest in signing a peace agreement.
Putin doesn't want a deal, but he likes it when people beg him for one. The 5-hour meeting between the U.S. representatives and the Kremlin leader apparently yielded no public results. Trump is right in wanting to end this war as soon as possible. But this stems from a fatal misunderstanding of Putin and his goals. Putin is a pragmatist who adapts to every new opportunity or setback. But he has a bigger dream. That dream is to change the balance of global security and put an end to years of U.S. dominance. From a CNN report,
the best way to understand the Kremlin's plans is by looking at the numbers. The expenditure side of the budget for 2026 confirms that Putin has no intention of ending the war. The aggressor country is allocating almost 13 trillion rubles for the military and weapons procurement. Another 4 trillion is planned to be spent on various security agencies. In total, the security sector will receive about 38% of the entire budget. This is a record figure, even compared to the Soviet Union era, and at the same time, Moscow is ignoring any peace initiative from Trump. No agreement on a ceasefire has been reached. The meeting in Budapest has essentially fallen through, and not a single important document has been signed.
For months, Putin has rejected Trump's initiatives, even for a temporary ceasefire along the current front lines, which Ukraine was willing to accept. So where are the Kremlin's concessions? The Russian dictator wants to seize all of Donbas and deprive Ukraine of reliable military allies who could protect it in the future. Putin wants to create the impression that he's negotiating, and meetings with Witkoff help him do that very well. In reality, the Kremlin leader has been trying all this time to drive a wedge between Trump and Europe. From a publication by the Wall Street Journal.
By the way, as soon as the American negotiators left, Putin, in an interview with India Today, once again started threatening that Russia would seize all of Donbas as well as the southern regions of Ukraine. Right away, on federal TV channels, deputies from United Russia began saying that Odessa and Mykolaiv should become part of Russia and that they really hope to go there on vacation next summer. Analysts from the Institute for the Study of War emphasize that all these threats do not reflect the actual military capabilities of the Russian Federation at all. This is just another attempt by the Kremlin to raise its bargaining position in negotiations by pretending to be ready to expand the war.
Russian officials last stoked their narrative that Odessa is a Russian city at the height of peace talks in April 2025. This was an attempt to portray Russia as ready to prolong the war and seize even more territory so that Ukraine and the West would give in to what seemed like more limited Russian demands. The revival of these narratives in December 2025 is likely aimed at supporting the Kremlin's cognitive warfare efforts, once again portraying Russia as capable of continuing the war to achieve its goals. From a report by the Institute for the Study of War.
How did NATO countries perceive yet another round of saber-rattling and Putin's threats toward Europe? Let us recall that on December 2nd, the dictator essentially accused the countries of the European Union of escalation and hinted at Russia's readiness for military action. The head of the North Atlantic Alliance, Mark Rutte, emphasized that he would not respond to every aggressive comment coming from Moscow. And the UK Ministry of Defense stated that this is just another piece of Russian propaganda, and that all of it is primarily aimed at a domestic audience. But in any case, these threats only strengthen the West's resolve to act together against Russian aggression.
Putin's latest threat that Russia is ready for war with Europe if European leaders do not accept Moscow's maximalist territorial demands should be seen in the context of Putin's senseless bravado, not as a real challenge. Instead of giving in to Putin's blackmail, NATO leaders should understand that, in the event of a direct military confrontation with Russia, they undoubtedly have the advantage, from a publication by The Telegraph.
At the same time, Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipovsky stated at a meeting of OSCE foreign ministers that right now Putin is actively trying to divide Europe and the United States and drive a wedge between the two sides of the Atlantic. Moreover, the Kremlin is not only ramping up its warlike rhetoric, but also intensifying its hybrid warfare, and the whole of Europe is under threat. After all, Putin's imperial ambitions do not end with Ukraine.
Violations of airspace, sabotage, and other hybrid operations are a stark reminder of Russia's aggressive intentions. All of Europe is under threat. Russia has ramped up its harmful and dangerous activities on land, at sea, and in the air. It is waging a psychological and sometimes even physical conflict against all of us. It is trying to drive a wedge between the two sides of the Atlantic while simultaneously undermining trust and sowing fear in European societies. Jan Lipovsky, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, in a speech at the OSCE meeting.
No threats or attempts to drag out the process will change the key principle. Peace is only possible on terms that guarantee Ukraine's security. As Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized, there is now a real opportunity to end the war, and at all negotiations, this must be reinforced by putting pressure on Russia. At the same time, support from allies and providing Ukraine with reliable security guarantees also remain key factors in achieving these goals.
Recording 1 in Ukrainian.
Ukraine is ready for any possible developments. Of course, we will work as constructively as possible with all our partners so that peace is achieved, and so that this peace is a dignified one. Only a dignified peace means real security. We are fully aware that for this, both now and in the future, we need the support of our partners. Our task is to obtain complete information about what was said in Russia. What other excuses has Putin found to prolong the war and put pressure on Ukraine, on us, on our independence?
This past week has made it very clear that all of Putin's statements about peace talks are just a cover for preparations for further war. The Kremlin is spending record amounts on the military and security agencies. At the same time, state propaganda says almost nothing about peace initiatives. It is completely focused on threats and displays of power. And it is extremely important not to let the Kremlin turn these negotiations into a sham as well, just to buy time and blackmail the whole world.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.